Old media and video games have had a hard time mingling. Whether if it's a more recent entry like the World of Warcraft movie that is well received by gamers but poorly received by critics, or a more half-assed attempt on making an adaptation of a video game in a movie like the Resident Evil movie, though critics are lukewarm with it. Hi, I'm Larson the Wolf, and today I wanted to talk about something that wasn't necessarily an adaptation of a video game into a TV show or movie, but one that references video games like it knows what it's talking about. Today I wanted to talk about the Playtester episode of Black Mirror, so let's get into it. So Black Mirror is an amazing series. If you haven't heard of it yet, it's a Netflix sci-fi thriller that tackles modern problems, especially as it pertains to humanity's use of technology. Hence the name, Black Mirror. If you still don't understand the name, shut off the monitor in front of you. You see your reflection? That's the Black Mirror, a screen. That is also why there's a crack in the beginning, as you're probably watching this on the screen. If you still don't get what it is, think of it as a modern version of the Twilight Zone. However, the Twilight Zone was a discussion on humanity and the things humanity struggles with. In other words, most of Twilight Zone's episodes, the main character or characters are their own worst enemy. Black Mirror also does this, and all their episodes have their own narrative. But there's also an added layer of mysticism where technology can go in the future, with all episodes being in some sort of near future. What's more, rather than going to the Twilight Zone, Black Mirror uses tech to show humanity's demons, or rather, show a more pronounced version of them. In this video, we'll be talking about Black Mirror's Season 3, Episode 2, Playtester. And just a heads up beforehand, you should go watch the show before you watch this video to appreciate it. Also, there will be spoilers for Bioshock 1 as well. So this episode has some very quiet references to video games, and I wanted to talk about that. It's also one of my favorite episodes, so I wanted to talk about that as well. It starts out with a montage of our main character, named Cooper, sightseeing different parts of the world. From this, we can glimpse that Cooper may be some sort of hedonist, and we get a pretty good idea of his character in the intro as well. Kind of a heart of gold dork. Also a little bro-y. He seems like a nice guy, but he will supply us with a fair amount of cringe in this episode.
You know what it's kind of like? It's kind of like a roller coaster. You know what I mean? It's like a roller coaster for sure. Try it.
I'm gonna say this a lot in this episode, but holy shit, I love this music. It's a nice synth techno with a hint of distortion that punctuates the theme of the episode, and really the series. Anyway, while Cooper is having tea in England, he gets horny and swipes through Not Tinder. And boom, he's at a bar with Sanjay, a female tech journalist. Great an excuse. Who quickly and uncomfortably changes the subject from her job, and this happens.
Tech's awesome.
So where have you been so far? You're traveling around the map like Indiana Jones.
Oh,
Brazil.
yeah,
Where-
we're done before.
I mean, is that what you're doing on this trip? You like finding yourself?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, I really to get away from the family home. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, that was.
Cooper is using this vacation to hide from his family, most likely his mom, who he keeps declining calls from. Obligatory tasteful sex implication, yay British TV, and they're shooting the shit, making breakfast. Copper nags her about her extensive game collection.
All these games. You're like a gamer. Cool.
Of course I am. For my job. A girl never beat you at Street Fighter.
It seems that she's more into games than Cooper is. Also, if I was willing to guess, I'd say Sanjay is a game journalist of some sort. And she says tech journalist to not scare people off on the first date. Hence the change in subject earlier.
It's when computers learn to outsmart man like women did. Years ago.
Sweet foreshadowing. Also, we should take note of her PS3 game collection. There's Bioshock 2, Dark Souls, Until Dawn, Dead Space. A lot of these are survival horror games, or at least ones with a creepy atmosphere. I don't know if it was supposed to be or not, but it seems like some sort of foreshadowing for the episode. Some more foreshadowing, but I mean, really? Who does that to butter?
Alright, saved by mom.
The best way to actually just stop her from calling is, I don't know, answer it.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a can of worms I just don't want to open right now, so.
She's worried. You're her son. You've been traveling. And I just think if you speak to her, then...
Yeah, well, I still live at home with her, back in Syracuse.
That's cool. That's fine.
Yeah. I was taking care of my dad.
Oh,
And,
shit. Is he...
No, he died.
Oh,
Yeah,
my God.
last year.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It was coming for a while. It was early onset Alzheimer's.
That must have been really tough.
Yeah, he was my best friend.
And this is where things get deep. We find out that Cooper's dad has died from Alzheimer's, and he just doesn't want to talk to his mom about it. He seems like he's trying to run away from that reality on this trip. Cooper finds out he has no money in his bank account and therefore cannot get a plane ticket back home. So in order to pay for a ticket to go home, he looks for a job and finds one as a game tester for the game company Saito Game. Sanjay fangirls about how great the lead dev to the company is. And if you ask me, it sounds like this person's supposed to be an Hideo Kojima parallel, with comments in the episode like...
Saito
Gamer.
Yeah.
They're huge. They're really big.
Really?
Horror games? Have you heard of... Oh, what's one of those? Harlech Shadow.
Harlech Shadow,
Yeah.
yes, I have. I used to play that in my buddy David Ludwig's basement when we were like 7th grade.
But that's Sho Saito. It's his company. He's like this genius, super secretive. And apparently they're working on this new project. Big money involved, groundbreaking, but nobody knows anything about it.
Since they're always on the cutting edge of technology, Sanjay convinces him to leak information about what they're developing over there, and in return, he'll make enough money in order to get a plane ticket home. More fantastic music. As Cooper enters the game studio, it's very clear he's a fish out of water there.
That kind of reminds me of like an end-of-level boss. You know? How you gonna?
Cooper is told to shut off his phone as he enters a creepy all-white room. When his employer leaves the room, he turns on his phone and takes pictures of the device they're about to test on him. He is then tested on. It's some sort of VR system that actually makes a new reality. He uses the system to play whack-a-mole for a bit as more sweet music plays. And then he's taken to the head of the games department and offered an advanced testing version. In this scene, I want to point out the fact that the Artur game dev is not fluent in English, and that he talks about games on some deeper level that he has a hard time describing.
You must be our latest volunteer.
Hi. This is really great. Hi.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa. Hi. I wanted to say that the mole game, super fun. Super fun. Fun.
とても楽しいと言っています。
No.
Fun.
Fun.
Fun is good.
Yeah. Oh.
Playing games is good. Your heart goes faster. You smile.
Yeah. Yeah. Or scream.
Oh. I have always liked to make the player jump. Frightened, you get a scare, you jump. Afterwards, you feel good.
Yeah.
You glow. Why?
Oh. Because of the adrenaline rush.
Yes,
Yeah.
but mostly because You are still alive.
Again, I'm fairly sure it's supposed to be an unofficial Hideo Kojima. They're loading up a program to him that reads the user's deepest fears in order to use them in a survival horror game. Cooper is then taken to a small mansion. He is then told that he's now playtesting a survival horror game that reads his thoughts and tangentially his deepest fears. This sounds fucking awesome, by the way. He is then given an earpiece to keep in contact with the assistant, as she will be in the control room while he wanders the mansion. And now he's left alone to let the horror program work. We get this weird shot, making the house seem insidious from the atmosphere. But I also want to point out the house may be a reference to the first Resident Evil, which explains this exposition.
Isn't this the Harlech Shadow House?
Well, it's part of the estate. The gamekeeper's lodge, actually, but yeah, this was the model. The layout was replicated for the game and the texture scanned.
Wow. Very, very cool.
As if hinting at its reference. Or they could just be Victorian houses. But there is another parallel we'll talk about later. Cooper then makes a nice comfy place for himself next to the fire and opens up some classic Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven. The Raven is essentially about the death of a loved one and the fact that you will see them nevermore. And in The Raven, the main character tries to escape all of this through a piece of fiction nonetheless. And this brings more parallels to, frankly, Cooper and the fact that he's trying to run away from what has happened with his father. What's more, The Raven foreshadows the Black Mirror episode even more, with the main character in The Raven being forced to come to grips with his loss. If you want a more in-depth understanding of the poem, I'll leave a dramatic reading of it in the description below, and I'll also link Wisecrack's Thug Notes on it down below. Both are some pretty high-quality content.
Can I point out your heart rate just increased?
Yeah. Well, it should have, because there's a huge, crazy spider. Just,
You see a spider?
You don't see that?
No.
Don't walk, don't...
And then the program starts to kick in.
Holy shit!
Tough guy like you, scared of spiders.
Yeah.
The show then kind of turns into suspense, thriller, horror kind of deal, and we get some more commercial spooks.
I knew it. It was leaky pipes. Like,
Holy fuck! Oh! Ah! Oh! Fuck!
he's gonna be right behind this door when I close it, isn't he? Yeah, that's how this worked. Knew it. Jump scares get pretty old pretty fast.
Oh, God.
What the hell is that?
And we get to this point. If you ask me, this abomination kinda looks like Patches from Bloodborne.
It's like a huge ass spider with a face and dicks coming out of his mouth. It's Peters. Peters is inside like a Peters spider mashup.
Cooper's earpiece starts malfunctioning, and he hears a rap-tap-tapping at his chamber door. He's completely spooked at this point and freaks out at the door to find Sanjay, who is...
You're real.
Sanjay informs Cooper that Saito Gameu tried to patent tech for a brain interface, but it was considered far too dangerous. That's when more exposition is laid on us, and we find out that 5 other people have died in this game testing job. Or rather, they've gone missing. Cooper thinks she's in on it, and as a response, she decides to make him number 6, and tells him it was the plan all along.
This isn't what I signed up for. I'm fucking done, okay?
What the fuck? Oh, fuck! How?
Then this happens. And Cooper understandably reacts to it this way.
Ah! Oh, fuck! Oh, fuck! Oh! 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 Oh!
Cooper then comes back in contact with the assistant in the control room, and he is pissed, telling her that the experience was not all audio-visual like she said it would be. It felt real, like
She was solid!
No, she can't have been.
they both agree to shut down the game, and she tells Cooper to head to the access point to do so, and one of my favorite scenes happens.
The end. What is it?
There's gonna be something bad in there. I can feel it. Something like,
Like what?
some personal fucked up shit. Like, I don't know, I can feel it digging around my head.
Cooper, get to the door.
It's gonna be like my mom, I don't know, dead.
Your mom?
Fucking swinging from a fucking beam.
Your mother is not in
You're
there.
not in control of this! It's in my head, it fucking knows, it knows! It knows!
It knows what?
Oh, it knows I got this thing with my mom.
Cooper, I promise you, she's not in there. Now open the door.
Oh my god.
It's the only way I can get you out. Listen to me.
Okay. Okay.
Whatever's in there cannot harm you. But I can't get you out unless you open that door, Cooper. Would you kindly open the door?
Would you kindly? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
I had to pause it at this moment. Would you kindly open the door? It sounds kind of like an odd phrasing for the moment. It's because it's a bioshock 1 reference. One that is upheld as one of the greatest narrative moments in gaming. Long story short, the plot twist in BioShock is that the main character you play in BioShock has been brainwashed and will do anything said to him, so long as the order is stated with "would you kindly." Which is odd because the friend that's been talking into your ear the entire time through the game has been saying that. A lot. This person obviously betrays you. So I bet you can't guess what happens next to Cooper.
Okay, I'm in the room. Where's the access point?
Access point? There is no access point.
What?
I'm fucking with you, Cooper. I told you to come up here to see if we'd broken you enough to obey instructions without question. And we have.
Oh, no. Katie, come on. Katie, come on, let me out! Katie, let me out! Come on, what the fuck? Oh, what are you gonna do? Oh, what are you doing to me? Why are you doing this?
You thought you'd see your mother. What does she look like? Your mother, can you describe her face? Her hair color? Is she tall, short, fat, thin?
That's when Cooper realizes he can't remember the most basic things, and the deepest shit hits you. Cooper's actual deepest fear isn't a bully, a giant spider, or a crazy girlfriend. The program knows it's...
You'll be just like your dad.
Shut up.
That's what really scares you, isn't it?
Shut up!
You're going the same place he did.
Shut up!
You're going nowhere.
Shut up!
You should have called Mom.
After Cooper does some drastic measures, they finally shut down the program. But it's too late.
I don't know who I am. So I need to go home.
The interface has data tendrils like roots. They've dug in deeper than they're meant to. Threaded through your brain. Taken over whole areas. I can't stop it. I can't remove it and I can't stop it.
But I don't know who I am. I don't know who I am.
On behalf of Saito Game Team, I most humbly apologize.
Who are you and what have you done to me? What have you done to me?
Put him with the others, please.
No, 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 stop, 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 no, 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 no.
JK Inception. With the money and resources now available to him, Cooper finally gets home and talks to his mother and JK Inception again. He dies, and they apparently have a team for that. And we also find out his name is Redfield, likely a reference to Chris Redfield in Resident Evil. And like that, the episode's over. Now, I wanted to take this moment in order to point out some of the references that I think this episode has. And I'm not sure if they're actual references or if it's me looking too far into it. It could also be them making tangential references in order to avoid copyright. So, I'll let you be the judge of what's really a reference and what's not. I think Redfield and Would You Kindly are pretty blatant as references, as the Would You Kindly reference makes a good parallel for the episode. Comparing Cooper to a survival horror main character doesn't seem like too big of a stretch. I also compared Kojima to Sho, as they are both Eastern game devs with next level views of games, and they are also very well respected in the gaming industry. Sho even names his development company after his last name, just as Kojima did, drawing parallels from Saito Gameu and Kojima Productions. Finally, we have Patches and the Resident Evil house. I'll leave those up to you, but you should keep in mind that Bloodborne and Resident Evil were all games found in Sanjay's library in the beginning of the episode. Finally, I wanted to talk about the episode in general now, and not about the video game references. First, I just want to appreciate the sheer amount of foreshadowing they put into this. We have his fear of giant spiders, computers outsmarting man, the stabbing of the butter, and the Easter eggs you see being worked on at the dev studio. The house, the guy in the hat, and Skinned Alive poster. What's more, they really dotted their I's and crossed their T's, in that all the people and things have a reason for being in Cooper's head. Remember, all the things after this point are in Cooper's head. For instance, the mansion and Sho Saito. When Cooper gets to Sho's office, and remember, this is all in his head at this point, there are two posters on the wall. Do they look familiar? They should. One is the magazine Sanjay showed him, and the other is a variation of the poster he was staring at when he was waiting in the lobby. He also could know how Sho looked from the same magazine. And when he was brought to the mansion, they said that they took it to model the mansion in the Harlot Shadow.
Isn't this the Harlot Shadow house?
Well, it's part of the estate. The Gamekeeper's Lodge, actually, but yeah, this was the model. The layout was replicated for the game and the texture scanned.
Which Cooper previously said he played a lot of.
Oh, what's one of those? Harlot Shadow.
Harlot Shadow, yes, I have. I used to play that in my buddy David Ludwig's basement when we were like 7th grade.
I just thought it was pretty freaking cool that they took the time to make pieces in order for all this to fit in Cooper's head. In research of this video, I came across some critiques of the episode that I frankly don't agree with. Now, I know I'm not as learned in my cinema making techniques as I am in my interactive media. However, I'd still like to put my critical 2 cents in. As I said, Black Mirror normally has 2 philosophical statements in each episode. One is technology as it pertains to humanity, and the second is humanity itself. And I think the ethics of the technology in this episode is pretty obvious, being with VR and whatnot. I've noticed a lot of the critics saying there's no humanitarian aspect to the video, that it's all just sci-fi thriller fluff. And frankly, I disagree. The human statement, to me, seems to be that the things we are really afraid of are not fictitious monsters, but the things that really can affect us. Cooper is suffering from the same fate as his dad, and being forced to deal with the thing that he was running away from at home. And it's sadly poetic, and you can't help but feel bad for the happy-go-lucky guy that is reduced to confusion and sadness.